There are people in the world who play video games on the highest level of difficulty, and I do not understand this. I'm not a gamer, but that doesn't keep me from having strongly held opinions about video games, and one of those opinions is this: video games should be easy. I'm not a gamer.
Oh my god, dude, here we go again.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
Hey guys, so what's going on? I found another person who doesn't like hard games, and that's completely fine if you don't like hard games, but the thing is, this guy says that hard games shouldn't exist because he doesn't personally like them. Now, I personally don't like cinematic style games, so does that mean that cinematic style games just shouldn't exist? Of course not. The truth is, different groups of people in the world like different things, and there's a group of people in the world that like challenging video games, and there are developers out there in the world that like making games for that specific group of people. Those games are made specifically for that group of people who like to be challenged.
Now, I like to be mentally challenged in my video games just like any other hardcore gamer does.
Almost every video game I've ever played, because I'm not a gamer, but I have played a video game or two in my time, and almost every video game I've ever played has had a difficulty setting.
Two things I want to point out. First of all, he said, I'm not a gamer, so why should we take you serious? I mean, I'm not trying to be like a gatekeeper or anything here, but if you don't have any experience in the hobby, you can't come in and say it needs to be changed to cater to you. Imagine I had a total of 15 minutes of experience in basketball, and I went into a basketball community and said, I think we need to change the rules of basketball, guys. Would you listen to me? Fuck no, you wouldn't. So why should we listen to you when you don't even actively play video games? The other thing I want to mention is he points out that a lot of games that he plays have difficulty options, and it's completely valid for developers to make games with difficulty options in mind, and it's also completely valid for developers to make games that have one streamlined difficulty to overcome. Games like Doom allow you to choose the level of difficulty you want to overcome, whereas games like Dark Souls have a streamlined difficulty that you have to overcome.
I don't even remember the last time I played a video game on anything other than the easiest setting. Why are those other difficulty settings even there? Why are those other difficulty settings even there?
Because not everyone has the same taste in video games that you do. Not everyone wants a really easy experience. Some of us would like to actually be challenged. Mentally challenged.
Now, I like to be mentally challenged.
No, but jokes aside, I would probably never play on the absolute easiest difficulty setting, but I understand why it's there. Because guess what? Just because I wouldn't enjoy that difficulty setting doesn't mean someone else wouldn't.
Everyone's different. I realize that. Tastes vary. So I can't truthfully say that people who want difficult video games are wrong. All I can say is, I don't get it. I've had it explained to me. I understand it on an intellectual level.
I don't know about that one. If you really understand it all that well, then why are you making this video?
But I don't get it. Once I asked a friend of mine who plays a lot of video games what they get out of playing games that are hard to beat, and they told me, I like the challenge.
Well, no shit.
I mean, yeah, that should be pretty self-explanatory. Somebody who plays on a challenging difficulty might want to be challenged. Now, how do you think he responds to this? Do you think he simply responds with, okay, you like to be challenged when you play video games, I don't, we can accept our differences and move on? Of course not.
And I said, oh, I get that. You're way too invested in video games.
This just comes off as so entitled. Oh, you're just too invested in video games because you actually like to be challenged when you play video games, whereas I don't. Also, you want to tell someone else that they're way too invested in video games when you have enough movies there in the background where you could sell them all and feed an entire fucking continent.
You play video games on a higher level of difficulty because you like the challenge. You know what I do when I feel like a challenge? I lead my life.
Good for you. You want a cookie, a trophy, a medal? Just because you do something when you want a challenge doesn't mean everyone else in the world is going to do that exact same thing when they seek a challenge. Not everyone in the world is you. When someone wants a challenge, they might go do a hard crossword puzzle. When someone else wants a challenge, they might play a hard video game. When someone else wants a challenge, they might try to hit some far baskets with their basketball hoop. Who are you to sit there and judge? This is literally coming off as I'm better than you because I seek challenges in different ways.
I'm not telling you my life is exceptionally challenging, by the way. It's not.
Oh, trust me, dude. Taking one look at your channel, I can tell. It's one of those channels where they just cry about the opposing political party. Like, you know those channels, the Quartering, Hassan Piker, those type of channels. Honestly, I'd rather tie my nuts to the back of a pickup truck and go for a drive than watch one of those channels. And I don't mean just a drive, I mean slam on that fucking gas pedal, bro.
I'm just a massive wuss. Some things in life are unavoidably hard. There's nothing you can do to make them easier. You just have to endure the best you can. But if there is a way to make something easier, I'd like it to be as easy as possible, please.
Well, see, the thing is, a lot of these games that are quote-unquote too hard have ways to make them easier, but a lot of people are just fucking lazy and don't want to go out of their way to put some effort in to make the game easier for themselves. They want the game to do that for them. A great example of this is Elden Ring. Margit, the first main boss, is pretty difficult, but if you spend time exploring, you can find Margit's Shackle, which makes the boss a cakewalk. But a lot of people are too lazy to do that and they'll demand an easy mode. Also, if you want to play an easy game, there's tons out there. Don't come over to games where we all like the challenge and demand it to not be challenging.
Especially if the something in question is something as frivolous as a video game.
If video games are so frivolous to you, why are you making an entire video crying that they're too hard?
Before all you righteously indignant gamers come at me, accusing me of shitting on video games as a medium, that's not what I'm doing. I understand why you might be upset. If you thought that's what I was doing, you love an art form that isn't widely respected or taken seriously. Hey, I'm a pro wrestling fan, okay? I get it.
Okay, and I wrestled back in middle school, but guess what? Just because I wrestled back in middle school doesn't give me the right to go into a wrestling community and demand wrestling to be changed to cater to me. I don't have years of experience with wrestling, so my opinion does not matter. Just like your opinion on video games doesn't really matter because you don't have that much experience with them. I mean, you can share your opinion, but it's not gonna mean much when you've played video games for a total of 30 minutes over the past 2 years.
I know that video games can be a medium for serious, intelligent, emotionally involving, socially relevant, and thematically rich storytelling. I'm not arguing otherwise. All I'm saying is, if I play your video game with the beautifully written story on the highest difficulty setting, I'm probably not gonna make it to your impeccably crafted and deeply resonant ending.
So play games that allow you to play on easier difficulties and enjoy those stories. But a lot of games, the story and the difficulty are tied together, once again going back to games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring. Take a look at a boss fight like Radon in Elden Ring. All the characters hype up the boss fight festival as like this super challenging experience, and when you get in, it matches. You get your ass kicked if you aren't ready for that fight. And it matches with the lore. But imagine, all these characters hype up that boss fight, and you get in and it's a limp dick of a boss fight. Take a look at a boss like Manus in Dark Souls 1, a boss so powerful that even the legendary knight Artorias fell to him. When you get to that boss fight, it matches. You can tell Artorias lost that boss fight because he fucks you up. Imagine you got to Manus, this boss so powerful that even Artorias fell to him, and it's just a piss-easy boss fight.
If a story is intellectually or emotionally challenging, I can do that. I'm all about that. But if it's technically challenging, fuck that shit. Who wants to watch a movie where you can't get to the next scene unless you're able to push the right buttons in the right order fast enough?
Well, see, the thing is, we play video games, we don't watch them. I can tell this is one of those, cinematic motherfuckers, bro. As for your question, why don't you go ask the millions of people who bought Elden Ring and Dark Souls and Sekiro and Bloodborne and all those style games?
A lot of people, apparently, but...
Well, you can fucking say that again.
But have I mentioned yet that I don't get it?
I mean, this video makes it very, very clear that you don't understand it, and I mean, it's not hard to understand. Those games are simply not for you. You don't like those style games, and that's completely fine. Just don't play them. But see, with games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring and all that, those games are made for groups of people who like to be challenged. They're not made for you if you're not someone who likes to be challenged, so don't worry about them. Don't come over and demand it to be changed for you. The games aren't for you. My main style of games are first-person shooter games and action games like Dark Souls. I'm not gonna go over to a puzzle game and demand them to add an AK-47 so I can fucking shoot up the puzzle.
Earlier I said that even though I'm not a gamer, I have played a video game or two in my time. In recent years, most of the games I've played have been mobile games, and I have 2 of them currently downloaded on my phone.
So you don't really even have experience with true video games, yet you wanna say that gaming should be changed to cater to you? Just because you play WWE Champions on your phone like you're goddamn Dark Side Phil doesn't mean you're a gamer, dude.
One is a game called Flow Free, which is a puzzle game where you connect the same color dots on a board. The other is a collection of solitaire games, which I use mostly to play free cell. Know what these 2 games have in common? They're both easy as shit.
So every single game out there should be like a game where you put colors together and fucking solitaire. So because you play solitaire, which can barely even be considered a video game, you think you can demand that gaming be changed? Bro, what made this guy upload this pile of shit?
Okay, let me tell you something about me. There's another video game that I play every now and again, Doom 2. Classic first-person shooter, right? When I was a kid and it first came out, I played it all the time. I loved it. These days, Doom 2 is one of the games you can find in the Internet Archive's arcade section, and sometimes if I find myself with some free time and I want to just have some mindless fun, I load Doom 2, turn down the game's music and sound effects, and put on some music of my own, and I play Doom 2 right there in my web browser and have a great time for however long it takes until I get bored with it, usually between half an hour and an hour. Not only do I play Doom 2 on the easiest skill level, I believe that would be the I'm too young to die setting, I load that fucker up with cheat codes. And now that I mention it, that's another thing about video games I don't get. Why are there cheat codes? Why do you need to know the secret handshake to activate certain options? Why isn't this stuff just checkboxes in the settings menu?
So now he's complaining that there's cheat codes in games, and he wants to know why there's cheat codes instead of just options there to activate what would have been cheat codes. My answer to that is simple. The developers are rewarding you for trying secret things and interacting with the community of the game to find out these cheat codes or talking to friends or whatever, because back then the internet wasn't as big as it is now. I remember back when cheat codes were popular, back in 2005 before YouTube became really popular. YouTube had just came out back then. I had a Nintendo DS back then, and I had a game for it called New Super Mario Bros. DS. I remember getting a book of cheat codes one day and trying out this cheat code for the game that let me play as Luigi, and my mind was blown. If that was just a secret in the menu, a lot of the magic of that would have been gone. This man literally wants to take everything I love about video games out of the video game, secrets and challenge. Imagine a game like Elden Ring had all the secrets and difficulty taken out of it.
Sometimes, if I don't feel like Doom 2, I'll play Wolfenstein 3D instead, which is also available to stream on Internet Archive. Makes for a nice change of pace. Maybe I don't feel like killing demons. Maybe I feel like killing... Same deal as Doom, though. I make it as easy to play as possible. The easier it is, the more fun it is. How does it make any sense to make killing more difficult?
Because not everyone seeks the same thing from a video game that you do, you might seek a power fantasy where you can just kill everything with ease, whereas someone else might seek a challenge where they have to work to overcome an obstacle. This guy genuinely doesn't understand that people go into video games searching for different things that he does.
Why would I want the game that I'm playing, that I've chosen to play for fun, to aggravate me too?
Just because you get aggravated with a hard game doesn't mean everyone else does. You might get aggravated with a hard game, but a lot of us like it to be hard, and we use every death we have as a learning experience, and we try to avoid that death the next time we play through. And it's okay to get stressed out with hard games. You know, if that's your case, don't play them. When I was younger, I used to get stressed out with hard games when I didn't understand the concept of a challenge, but that just means they weren't for me at the time. and hard games, I guess, still aren't for you. I remember trying to play the original Super Mario Bros. 2 as a kid, and I thought it was really stressful and I didn't enjoy it, but if I go back and play it nowadays, I have a pretty good time with it.
I have fond memories of those times, but you know what else I remember about my misspent youth as a video game player? How my Nintendo controllers would rattle when I shook them, because of all the times I flung them to the floor in frustration. Many of the games that provoked that childish reaction were among my favorites. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mega Man, assorted Castlevanias, Battletoads, goddamn motherfucking Battletoads. May the people who made you burn in hell. I liked playing all of those games, but you know what would have made me like them even more? If they weren't so fucking hard to beat that they made me whip the controller at the TV in repeated acts of impotent pre-adolescent rage.
Alright, well, it seems like you needed something called anger management classes instead of a Super Nintendo, but that's besides the point. Games back then were a lot harder than they are now, and I think a part of the reason why games were a lot harder back then is because when you died, you'd have to restart the entire game, and it would stop you from realizing just how short some of the games were. Now, the reason games were shorter was obviously limitations of the time, which we have overcome, and I think that's the reason games have gotten a lot easier. No, but seriously, if I'm a parent and I have a kid who's throwing his controller around over a game, I'll let him break his controller and I just won't buy him another one till he does enough chores to earn another one or something. And I'm not gonna act like I didn't have my moments as a kid where I got fucking mad, like maybe of throwing a controller here and there, but...
Am I saying every voluntary activity I engage in, every hobby I pursue needs to be as easy as possible? No, of course not. I exercise regularly, and part of exercising, if you stick with it long term, is occasionally increasing the difficulty of your routine, adjusting your goals to keep it challenging. That's how you get better, by pushing yourself. It's not easy and it's not fun, but if you do it long enough and consistently enough, you see real benefits. You look better, you feel better, you have more energy. Hopefully you live longer and have fewer health problems along the way. In other words, there's a reason to challenge yourself and to force yourself to endure degradation and misery. What's the reason for doing that with a video game? What's my benefit for playing a difficult game? I get angry and quit, and then I'm all annoyed for a while over nothing?
So you ask what's the benefit of playing a challenging game? Well, if it's a team-based game, it means you have to work with other people and come up with a strategy and think as a team, and it helps you work with others. I used to play a game called Ark Survival. Now, Ark was fucking hard. You'd have to learn to play as a team if you wanted any chance of survival in that game. If you're talking about a single-player game, you might also have to think of different strategies, and it might make you use your brain. And another thing it'll do is it'll obviously make you better at that game, and with games like Dark Souls, it'll allow you to earn the ending, or earn parts of the story. Another thing you say is, why would I make myself mad over a video game, basically making yourself mad over nothing? If it's nothing, then why are you getting mad over it, is the real question.
I imagine some of you are thinking, shit, Steve, it sounds like you just suck at playing video games. Yes! That's it, exactly! I suck at playing video games, which is why I only enjoy the easy ones.
And there's nothing wrong with sucking at a video game at all. Like, there's nothing wrong with not being good at games. Some people aren't good at painting. Some people aren't good at sports. Some people aren't good at games. But if you suck at games and you don't want to play games that are going to challenge you, then stick with those games that are made for casual people or people who aren't that good at games. A lot of games nowadays are made for people who aren't that good.
Because when I play a video game, I'm not under the delusion that beating the game is an accomplishment, and that beating the game at a higher level of difficulty is therefore a more impressive accomplishment. It's not impressive, and it's not an accomplishment.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to put the copium down, just put it to the side, just stop huffing it. Listen. It is still an accomplishment to beat a game, or beat a hard game, or beat a game on a harder difficulty, because it is not something everyone can do. Just because you can't personally do it, and you're coping over the fact that you can't do it, doesn't mean you can take away the sense of accomplishment someone might get when they beat a hard game, or beat a game on a hard difficulty. Like, sure, at the end of the day, it might not matter in the grand scheme of things, but, like, let them be happy about it. If somebody hit, like, a really good shot in basketball, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, but let them be proud of that accomplishment. Alright, and that pretty much wraps up the video. If you don't like hard games, that's completely fine. They're simply not for you. There are tons of games out there that cater to people who don't like hard games. So don't come over to the games that cater to us that like a challenge and demand those experiences be stripped from us. Alright, that pretty much wraps up this video. I wasn't even gonna make this video, but, I seen this video and I thought it was incredibly stupid, so, there you go. Peace.